The information provided by Taming Lightning is designed to provide helpful information and to educate on the subjects discussed. The information provided is true and complete to the best of our knowledge and is not intended to be used without professional guidance and supervision. All recommendations are made without guarantee on part of Taming Lightning and affiliates. Taming Lightning and affiliates disclaim any liability in connection with the use of this information. Taming Lightning podcast is supported by the Pittsburgh Glass Center, a non-profit public access glass studio and one of the top glass facilities of its kind in the U.S., with a knowledgeable and friendly staff and a safe, fun atmosphere. Our community is made up of artists, collectors, students, or just those fascinated by glass. Depending on your interests and schedule, there's a class for you, be it a 2-hour introductory workshop, 8-week classes, or 5-day summer intensives taught by artists from all over the world.
Keep an eye out for more classes at the Pittsburgh Glass Center, as we work to provide a space for learning neon and plasma. Check us out on the web at www.pittsburghglasscenter.org or call our studio at 412-365-2145. And before we get going on the episode here, I'd like to mention a support option for Taming Lightning, which is coffee. That is KO-FI. This will be replacing the Buy Me a Coffee option I was working with previously, having some financial issues with that in terms of getting the money through that. I wanted to switch to something that's been around a bit longer and had better reviews. With this, you're basically donating or giving a tip based on how you think I'm doing. If you love the project, it's nice to support it. And that support goes directly into the podcast for means of assisting with audio equipment upgrades, billing or hosting, software and services for processing that audio, and of course any future travel and professional content. You are by no means obligated to donate, but any support, including commenting and sharing, is appreciated.
Welcome back, or welcome to the Taming Lightning podcast. I'm Percy Eccles II. I'm the creator and host of Taming Lightning, as well as the emerging plasma tech at Pittsburgh Glass Center, where I'm researching and developing a space for exploring plasma and neon light. Taming Lightning podcast is a series of conversations to help expand our understanding of plasma and neon light, looking beyond its associations with novelty in sign making, and to explore the potential of noble gases as an artistic medium, with each guest sharing their unique knowledge and experience. The intro is Boost by Joachim Krud. Joachim is a Swedish artist who loves to create chill and happy music, and does so for copyright-free use. Be sure to support his music by giving credit when used, subscribing, and/or by donation via Patreon. You can find him on Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify.
Hello, Lightning Tamers. This is episode number 13. In today's podcast, we have Philadelphian artist Eve Hoyt of Evening Neon, who began her journey in neon in the late 80s, followed by several years of working in the neon sign industry. Bored with making signs, but in love with the medium of neon, she set up her own neon studio in her home, where she could be free to explore the possibilities of neon as an artistic medium.
I'm Eve Hoyt, aka Evening Neon, and I make neon art pieces and neon signs. Yeah.
And how did you get started in neon?
I got started, I just noticed it and wanted to learn how to make it, so I started to look around for someone to teach me. I called sign shops first, just got out the yellow pages and just started looking for sign shops that advertised that they sold neon, and called a few of them and asked if they would hire me and teach me how to make it, and they all said no. So I eventually connected with someone who he couldn't hire me, but he had a small neon shop that he invited me to come out and check out so I could, just sort of see about the process and how it's made. And then he gave me the name of a woman who had a neon shop in Savage, Maryland. So I called her and asked her to teach me, and she said yeah. And she created I think it was an 8-week course. It was an 8 or 12 weeks. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. Just basic neon class. And, and I paid her. It was kind of like my own private tutor for neon. And then actually after she taught me, she realized she liked doing that. So she ended up opening a neon school after that and had that open, I think for at least 10 years.
And what was the name of that neon vendor again?
Her name's Haley Ryan, and
Haley
her
Ryan.
Business is Savage Neon.
And so from there you went on to, did you start trying to work in studios and get your hands more involved in the process?
So from there, I kind of just went back to some sign shops and said, hey, I took a neon course. Can I work in your neon room? And so I did end up getting a job at a sign shop in Annapolis, but I was the pumper. So I was the person who processed the neon tubes, filled them with gas. And so I did that. It's kind of where you start. If you start in a sign shop, they usually, before you start bending glass, they have you process neon tubes for a while. So I did that for probably a couple years. And, they would let me do little bits of bending here and there. And then from there, I just kind of bounced around to some different neon shops and ended up relocating up to the Philadelphia area. And I've been up here since 1994.
I'm going to jump back to your time as a pumper. And when you're working through that process where your first time using the bombarder, how was that? How did that feel? A lot of people who don't understand what that does is kind of terrified by that, such a powerful piece of equipment.
Right. Well, when I took my neon class, of course we learned about, bombarder safety and how to be safe in a neon shop. So, I always sort of had that respect for it. And when I started at the sign company, they, gave me a refresher. And so I felt pretty comfortable. But yeah, you're right. It's definitely, it has the potential to be very dangerous. Because the transformer that you use to pump the tubes, or actually, I guess it's heating. You're using the bombarder to heat the tubes. It's much bigger than the transformers that use to run the neon. I guess it's the secondary current is stronger, so it could electrocute you.
Now, from first taking I'm going to still kind of go with this question because I'm actually kind of curious to see what you know and how, and actually just kind of how you transition to your home studio. Is that from the first time you got to mess with neon, first time you got to process through working through this sign and then moving into your own home, has there been some changes that you developed over time that you brought to your home studio that made it more efficient for you?
Well, that was very conscious. We were looking for a house to buy, and one of the things that was a must-have was a space where I could set up a neon, my own neon shop. Because at that point I'd been doing neon for a while, mostly working in neon wholesale shops, doing signs and channel letters. Channel letters are the letters that you see, that light up at night on the side of a building. They're individual letters. They have neon inside of them, although nowadays they're putting LED lights in them, which look terrible, but that's a whole other thing. So I was just really wanting to break away from doing signs and, experiment with, making neon art. So, I really, I kind of had to do that in my own space because, my boss didn't want to pay me to make art. So that's kind of how I ended up with my own space. And I set that up, I guess it's about 2000 or 2001. And I work by myself. I'm a one-woman neon shop, and I like it.
So what kind of things do you put in your studio that keeps you motivated, that inspires you?
Well, of course I have, lots of neon hanging up. But then I also I'm a collector of vintage, nothing special really, just sort of objects that I like, that I'm curious about. I tend to have a lot of dolls, although I was never a big doll collector when I was younger. I just kind of picked up a few, and then it grew from there. And I have a shelf in my neon shop that has, a bunch of these dolls and other, old toys and things. And so I've actually had a couple customers bring me dolls that, they've come in and said, "Oh, you collect dolls. I have a doll for you." And they've brought me just their weird dolls. A lot of them are kind of creepy looking. I guess other people would say they're creepy looking. I personally think that there's a humorous element to them that I like. So yeah, I have some of that stuff, and just other, old rusty things, or just whatever, really. I have a fondness for, vintage things, the past, how we used to live, the things, that were in our lives that we used to use. So I have lots of those kind of things around that definitely keep me inspired.
Nice. Can you tell me a little about what you like to make? I see that you like to make some kind of free-form type of objects, but I mean, what do you like to do that can kind of describe your art style?
Right now I'm doing a lot of, mixing a lot of the found objects with neon, and I like to use old frames, and I build them out so that kind of make these boxes out of them. And then, they'll have a few objects that, I think work well together, or maybe they're telling a story, and then I just sort of, put neon in with it, like whatever colors or shapes I want to use. So I really like doing those. It's, before that I was doing mostly like three-dimensional, just sort of self-supported sculptures, trying to sort of think about the tube itself as the art piece. So, yeah.
How do you deal with commissions? Because I see that sometimes you work with other people to make things, or get commissioned some kind of neon work.
Usually, someone will just, contact me, and either they have a pretty specific idea about what they want, or they're looking for a little more guidance. But most of the commission work I do is, in the nature of signs. I have done a couple art pieces that where someone came in and said, I like your style, and, I want to give a gift. And so here's kind of some colors I like, and, do your thing. So, but I have my website that, I guess people reach out to me that way, and Instagram's been pretty good for me as far as that goes. I did a project recently. This guy, he has had a lighting business. He brought me an acrylic chair that he wanted me to put neon on. And so that was fun. That was a little challenging because the chair, it was like an acrylic chair, but it was curved. So, and the neon had to kind of fit like in the channel of the legs. So there was a lot of tweaking and a lot of, I needed one piece that went around the back, but, I had to bend it like 4 or 5 times before I got it, to fit just right. So, and, sometimes people bring their tubes, their neon tubes from an art piece that, they've gotten somewhere that, needs to be repaired. So, I do that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, I see the picture of the chair on your website. It's pretty impressive.
There's one with a baby in it. I think I plopped one of my baby dolls in there. Took that picture.
It just seems very fun. Do you like getting some of these little challenges that you have to kind of figure out how to bend?
Yes, actually, I do. I even though it can be frustrating and maybe sometimes not as lucrative, I do enjoy, the challenge and the figuring out, how something's going to come together or work, or or just learning something new, about what I'm doing.
When it comes to neon, what's your favorite part?
Well, I like it all. I do enjoy glass bending. The actual making of the tube. My favorite part, I don't know. I like it all. I like turning it on for the first time, although that's always a little, there's always a little bit of hope it lights, But I like it all. I like I like the glass bending a lot, and just seeing everything kind of come together.
So have you ever taught neon before?
I have just out of my studio. I've had a couple people approach me about learning, and we did kind of a barter arrangement. I had a young woman, she come, ask me if she could, bend. She had a very specific idea. It was actually part of a larger art installation she was doing, and so she wanted to make a kite, like just kind of like the traditional kind of diamond-shaped kites in clear red. And so she came, and I gave her a few lessons on some basic bends, and then helped her make the pattern, and she actually she picked it up pretty easily, and she made made this piece, and I pumped it for her, and she installed it and had that finished piece, and she babysat my kids in exchange when they were little. At the time they were toddlers. And I had another woman, she was an art student, and she had an idea of what she wanted, a project she wanted to do, and she came a few times, but I think it was a little more challenging for her, and then I think she just kind of got sidetracked with some other things and never made her way back. But I do get inquiries a lot, and I would like to teach. I would like to teach more. I only have a setup of one bending station, so I could really only take on one student at a time anyway. But I would love to do some guest teaching at some places. Have to figure out how to get that hookup going. I guess I just have to call some people or something. I guess they don't know about me, unless I reach out to them.
Yeah, and sometimes you do that, and that's really what you have to do. You have to kind of reach out to places. Pittsburgh Glass Center is still trying to build a space for that. So we'll see what happens in the next 2 or so years regarding neon. Have you done any oven pumping?
I did some oven pumping in a workshop that I took at Urban Glass. And I had I took 2 classes there, and they were kind of blurring together in my mind. So I decided to do some digging around and some pictures on my computer to see if I could try and remember. And the one class I took in 2000, so that was a while ago. And that was with David Ablon from Technolux and Marcus Spielen, who is in Germany. And that class was called Glass Blowing Lamp Working Connection. So we went in the hot shop and we pulled some tubes, and then we worked with some Boro glass on the lamp torch, and I think I made like some little blobs, little animal looking things, but then we filled them with gas. It was kind of a makeshift oven of fire bricks and fiber fax, and heated them up, in this little makeshift oven, and filled them with gas, and then they, things ran off of radio frequency transformers. So, okay. And then I took another class about 8 years later at Urban again, and that was some similar stuff. It was, but we did like single electrode, and I'm trying to remember what kind of, if there was some oven. I think there was some oven pumping happening there, but I can't really recall what the setup was. But I did, after that, I bought a kiln off of Craigslist. It's small, like a tabletop for like doing jewelry work. And I took the door off of it and put it on my pumping table, but never actually used it. I think maybe I couldn't get the temperature up high enough, and then just sort of got sidetracked with life and never got back around to it. But I've done a little bit of it. Is that how you are familiar with the pumping of glass?
Because I do
that you fill with gas, you oven pump them for the plasma pieces, I guess.
Yeah, for plasma, that's pretty much the only way we can process it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm kind of familiar with. But by then, I'll have a better understanding of how to facilitate that for anyone who's not really familiar with that. So if you were to teach a class at some other facility, whether it's Pittsburgh Glass Center or another art school, what equipment do you need for that class, and how would you teach that class? What kind of ideas would you come up with?
Yeah. So the equipment I would need would be, a neon setup, so a crossfire, a ribbon burner, and a hand torch. And I guess if we were going to pump what we make, a pumping system, but maybe I would want a single pointed hand torch in my neon shop. So it's a jeweler's torch, and it has a connection for gas and for oxygen. And it's just a single flame that comes out. And most neon shops don't incorporate one of those in their bending stations, at least not that I had seen until I started working in the Philadelphia area, where lots of them seem to use them, and also in southern New Jersey. But anyway, so, I implemented using this torch when I started working up here, and when I set up my own shop and started to play around, I discovered, I had some solid glass rod, and so I was just playing around and started doing this thing where I would blow a hole in the neon tube and then fill it in with some of the colored rod and then blow it out into a bubble and create these like little bulbs on the tubes, and which would light up. So that is something that I could do, and just sort of in talking about neon as using it as an art form, and different ways to sort of present neon as art pieces, the tube as art, and could show a little bit about that. It's funny. I appreciate your patience and just doing this again. So I definitely felt much more comfortable the second time around.
So where can we find you on the internet?
On the internet, you can find me. My website is eveningneon.com, and I'm on Instagram at eveningneon. And I'm on Facebook also. I do have an Evening Neon page, although usually what I post there is just coming via my Instagram. But, yeah. I mean, if you Google Eve Hoyt, I'm right there. I pop right up.
So I'm not sure if you listened to podcast episodes prior or not, or since our last kind of discussion, but who would you recommend that I try to grab and pull onto the podcast in the future?
Well, definitely I would reach out to David Ablon, because he's been at it for a long time, and he's not just a neon person. He also does some glass blowing, and yeah, he's got lots of fun things happening where he is in Brooklyn. So I think he probably could have some interesting stuff to say. I guess we'll talk again soon at some point in the future, either crossing paths or...
The outro is The Process by Lakey Inspired. Jordan, aka Lakey, is a Los Angeles-based artist with the goal of inspiring others to create by sharing positive music around the world. Thus, he works hard to produce music every week for copyright-free use. So be sure to support his music by giving credit when used, subscribing, and or by donation via Patreon. You can find him on Instagram, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify.
Thank you for listening to Taming Lightning Podcast. I'd like to thank Eve Hoyt for taking the time to record for the podcast and sharing a piece of her story. It's not often that you have to retake recordings, but when you do, sometimes it gives you a little bit more better content, and that's all part of their relationship. Also, I'd like to thank the Pittsburgh Glass Center for supporting me as a place of research and inspiration, as well as encouraging me to pursue this project and the Plasma Art Alliance, where I have access to a well of knowledge. It connects me to some amazing people. Now, if you'd like to support Taming Lightning, subscribe to the newsletter on www.taminglightning.net or follow me on Instagram at Taming Lightning. Other options for support are donations through Ko-fi, that's spelled ko-fi.com, where you can donate for the price of a $3 cup of coffee, with links provided in the show notes below. Feel free to share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.